that if something is right, it will be done. If something is wrong, he will not do it.
Welcome to Believe in Future, Amazing Mentor Global Leadership Series. I am Gaurav Garg, and today we have an honor of hosting Shri Suresh Kumar IAS, a visionary leader in public service, driving administrative modernization, pro-poor development programs, and bold reforms across sectors like agriculture, water, energy, rural infrastructure, and public service delivery. Known for his clean and uncorruptible image throughout a distinguished career, today he continues to mentor emerging leaders and change makers. Welcome, sir, to Believe in Future, Amazing Mentor Global Leadership Series.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you.
So, our today's session will start from truth. So, from inside the system, why is change often so slow? People criticize bureaucracy for bringing salvage or resistance. Having spent decades in the service, what uncomfortable truth can you share about why even well-intentioned policies get bogged down in government? For instance, you have noted that within the bureaucracy, there are discordant voices laminating decisions made without evidence or data. What prevents evidence-based policy making from prevailing over politics, and how did you cope up with this reality?
We as civil servants need to work with and through the systems, and system is based on frame of rules, frame of regulations, frame of policies and programs. When a bureaucrat tries to work with and through the system, it takes time. It takes more courage to follow the rules of business in the government, and try and build the case, program or decision on the basis of data and evidence. Take quick decisions. Those kind of decisions which are not data-based, which are not evidence-based, probably fail in implementation. Something which is decided on the basis of data and evidence probably works well. The 3 new agriculture laws which were enacted by the government in 2020, they were done so swiftly. Speed thrills. The farmers were not convinced. The stakeholders were not consulted. The evidence based on past experience since 1966, what green revolution achieved, how it achieved, how the present structures of agriculture marketing or agriculture operation were created. Those evidences were not analyzed and discussed with the stakeholder. As a result, ultimately, the government of India had to withdraw those laws. System needs time. We need to analyze the full facts, full evidence to take a decision. Decision based on evidence, decision taken within the system, through the system, probably sustain for longer time, and they get good implementation response.
So, have you ever had to deliver bad news or had truth to those in power? In your career, did you ever find yourself telling a chief minister or minister something they did not want to hear? How did you handle speaking truth to power, and what did that moment teach you about leadership and integrity?
I am the only officer since 1947 in Punjab who spent 9 years in the Chief Minister office. In December 2003, I was appointed the Principal Secretary to the Chief Minister. 2003 to 2007, I remained in that position. Then the government changed, but again, same Chief Minister, 2017, Captain Amrinder Singh came back to the power and he recalled me to the government. He offered me the position of the Chief Secretary. I would not take a position on the basis of experiences in Gujarat. Mr. K. Kailash Nathan had been Chief Principal Secretary in Gujarat for over 10 years. I was engaged as Chief Principal Secretary. In my both terms with the Chief Minister's office, told the truth to the Chief Minister. I was Excise and Taxation Commissioner of the state of Punjab. I was conducting the excise auctions. The market is quite buoyant and we need revenue for the state, and I would go for open auctions. Big liquor vendors, they went and met the Chief Minister. They asked him, call up the excise commissioner and tell him to cancel and give us at a predetermined price. I refused to cancel. Auctions were confirmed. State got the revenue. I was transferred as excise commissioner and posted to the Housing and Urban Development Department. Once you speak the truth, you will be transferred. I was transferred from the Excise and Taxation Department in June 2003. In December 2003, the same Chief Minister opted to get me as his Principal Secretary, and I survived for 9 years with him.
So generally, we have seen that once you get the transfer, you are very much ready for the second transfer if you again tell the truth to any of the minister or your seniors. So does this incident repeated in your career?
Very early in my career, I had made up my mind to call spade a spade, and I always been calling spade a spade. Whatever could be done, whatever had to be done, will be done and would be done for everybody. Something which cannot be done for anybody. There was no pick and choose. If it is within the permissible framework of the rule of law. Otherwise, if it cannot be done, one chief minister, it cannot be done for other chief minister. If it cannot be done for one person, it cannot be done for the others. The most political executives, the most minister, not only the chief minister, knew jolly well that if something is right, it will be done. If something is wrong, he will not do it. In all my 37 years in government of Punjab, that I completed most of my terms. Shortest term was 18-20 months in the excise and taxation department, but in all other assignments I had done 36 to 48 months. At times I've had 3, 4, 5 portfolios. Mr. Prakash Singh Badal is very kind to me and given me 2, 3, 4 very, very important portfolios. In terms of work allocation, work efficiency, work rewards, he never distinguished me. He never differentiated with me.
So what failure taught you your greatest lesson? Tell us about a time in your career when a project or reform failed or fell short of its goal. What harsh truth did you learn from that setback, and how did you change your approach to governance and problem solving going forward?
My transfer as district collector from Firozpur. Then 1992 Punjab elections were held. Congress had won all the 12 parliamentary seats. But on 13th parliamentary constituency in Firozpur, they lost. All the district collectors were changed. 11 out of 12 collectors were given the second district. I was not given, and I was posted as Director Technical Education, to be the first IAS officers to be posted as Director Technical Education. Before that, technocrats used to be posted as Director Technical Education. The Congress lost the election. They probably blamed it on the collector, and they changed me to as Director Technical Education. But when I came as Director Technical Education, I had a wonderful opportunity. I had the choice to set up 2 engineering colleges. So we did mapping of the state, and we found that 2 districts, again the Firozpur and Gurdaspur district, did not have any engineering colleges or any technician education facility. Make the proposal, which is totally data-based and evidence-based, and proposed to the Chief Minister that we should set up 1 engineering college in Firozpur. And Chief Minister agreed with me. Chief Secretary agreed with me. The college was set up in Firozpur. From the position of Director Technical Education, I was shunted out to Government of India, and I became the Deputy Secretary Training and Personnel in Government of India in March 1992.
So what's a common misconception about public service that you would like to correct? Many young people have idealistic and cyclical views of government. Based on reality, what myth about governance or leadership would you burst for the next generation? And in other words, what truth do you wish you had known earlier about making changes with public institutions?
People who believe that by compromising for short-term benefits, they can achieve better in life as civil servant, that's not true. If you stick to your rules, stick to rule of law, stick to your integrity, pursue truth against the tide, in the long term, you stand to gain. I have always stood for truth and integrity. I have never compromised with the integrity or anything which was proposed and which was not within the framework of law and rules. Political people cannot ask for violation of rules. You have a choice to change the rules. I will follow the rule. You have made the rule. So I have followed the rule book always. That has paid me dividends all my career. Compromises on integrity, compromises on the rules, compromises on the administrative procedures are compromises to get quick results, give you any long-term or any career benefits. System will hit you back, and once the system hits you, it's very difficult to stand up again and rise again.
So how do you stay honest in the system full of temptations? Throughout your journey, you earned a reputation for integrity and a clean image. Even as you navigated high-stake roles, what's the truth behind maintaining personal ethics in an environment where corruption or shortcuts are constant temptations? Did you ever feel pressure or compromise, and how did you remain true to your values?
My entry into the IAS is an unwished destiny. So I didn't come to the service to make money. I was always rooted in ethics in action. Yes, there were temptations, but once you are clear that if I wanted to make money, I had the other choices to become an entrepreneur, to take up some businesses, to take up some other activity which gives you quick money. But I was not into it. I joined the service, though through an unwished route, but surely for doing something more ethical, something which is in the interest of the common man. And that commitment got more strength once I was allotted the Punjab cadre. Landed up in Punjab when Punjab was going through a very, very difficult phase. Operation Blue Star had just concluded. People were in distress. So when you see all this tension, pain, agony in the common man, you probably feel convinced, okay, now here is a place we can deliver much more in an honest and transparent manner.
So after 35 plus years of experience, what core principle still guides you? Having seen the evaluation of Indian governance over decades, what ultimate truth or principles about leadership have you arrived at? Is there a guiding truth that kept you grounded through all the political upheavals and public pressures? Something you believe every future leader should understand about serving the public?
As a leader, even as a civil servant, one has to be very, very authentic. Now, authentic doesn't mean that you have the power and you do what you like. Authority does not come from the office or the chair. Authority comes what values you have, what vision you have. If you have values and you have vision, but you cannot execute that vision, there is no action and there is no victory. That makes you useless for the society. One must pursue values, one must have a vision, and that vision must be translated into action with success. Whatever task you are given, you must complete that and achieve the defined goal for it. You become an authentic civil servant, you become an authentic leader in your own area, and you become a person who can be trusted.
So share an opinion that might shock the public. What is an unpopular opinion you hold about governance or development that most policymakers or politicians wouldn't say out loud? I dare you to reveal a bold idea or belief, perhaps on education, agriculture, or administration, that challenges the status quo, even it might be controversial.
I think the officers should have courage to be disliked if a decision which is based on merit, which is based on rule, makes you unpopular, so be it. If a decision makes you disliked, so be it. Decision has to be correct and you should be able to justify your decision. In my position as Registrar Cooperatives, I used to always hold the fort by sticking on to rules. So the minister will interfere in the cooperative societies. The minister cannot pass any orders on the records or on files of cooperative society. I used to tell the minister very frankly, sir, you don't have the powers. You cannot pass orders. So he will transfer the manager of cooperative society. He will try and decide the pay scales or promotions of the office bearers or employees of the cooperative society. He will pass all these orders which did not stand the scrutiny of law. Orders of the ministers, I used to stay. The Hindustan Times, Chandigarh carried, the minister proposes, registrar disposes. You may have passed the wrong orders. Follow the law. If the law is not to your liking, you can change the law. But please don't tell me to violate the law. When I was Chief Principal Secretary, he came with a proposal to set up a 1,000 crore eco park. And that eco park was to be set up in land which was a reserve forest area. No construction could be done. I said, look, just for your land which is worth 2-3 crores, I can't waste government's 1,000 crore. I cannot as a civil servant recommend violation of law. That was the basic reason both the ministers got annoyed with me. The Council of Ministers decided to allocate rupees 10 crore. This very same minister wanted me to double his allocation. I said, sorry, I can't do it. It's the decision of the Council of Ministers. Whatever is the decision, I'll go by that. So he got unhappy and gave a statement against me stating that the Chief Principal Secretary has insulted me, which media picked up and ultimately it went against him.
So identify one popular policy that you believe need to be scrapped or radically changed, even if it's politically risky. For example, Punjab has long provided free electricity for agriculture, which, as report notes, fuels groundwater overuse. Would you dare to end subsidy like free power or make MSP limited if it means long-term sustainability? What backlash would you expect and how would you justify this tough call to the public?
MSP was the only marketing intervention which made Green Revolution very, very successful. It is assured marketing for the farmers. Every grain will be picked up through the procurement at the MSP, the minimum support price, by the government. As a result, the country got the food security. But this has now become a resource curse for us. It is a curse. It is a curse because farmers, because of MSP, the farmers do not want to come out of wheat and paddy. which is damaging our water, which is damaging our soil, which is damaging our human health, which is damaging our livestock, which is causing multifarious environmental damages. Biodiversity is gone, the soil quality is depleted. It's not the MSP should be dispensed with. The MSP needs to be diversified. We should give MSP for other crops and try and gradually cut on the MSP for these two crops. Once there is no or a lesser guarantee of MSP on wheat and paddy, people will shift to the more remunerative crops. Likewise, electricity subsidy. Free power, there's about 10,000 CR free power cost of electricity which goes to the agriculture sector. Now, if the farmers are producing, let's say 100,000 crore of worth of agriculture produce in a year, 10% cost is electricity or energy cost. Free power should be targeted and should be given to those who cannot afford. Those who are just doing the subsistence farming, the normal systems of electricity tariff, electricity supplies, electricity metering should not be tempered with. Free energy means free water. Free water means depletion in soil quality. Your productivity is going down, your quality of produce is going down. Small and marginal farmers deserve some support. Those who need the support should be supported instead of everybody and anybody giving the help.
Generally, we have seen that each and every person who is doing trading is a trader. Whether he is doing trading of electric items, whether he is doing trading of FMCG item or any type of trading. But when we talk about law, generally people are after what we call as Aarti, means grain traders. So each and every time we have seen that people want that grain traders to be removed and they want all the food items directly from the farmer to the shopkeeper. Why is it so? Why only the grain traders are targeted, not any other business?
Why should financial market have the intermediaries and not the grain market? Why should fruits and vegetable market have the intermediary and not the grain market? Why should power market have intermediaries? Intermediation is also a service. They do the sorting of grain, they do the cleaning of grain, they do the weighing of grain, they do the packaging of grain, they do the lifting of grains, they help in warehousing and storage of grain. There are about 1.8 million landowners in Punjab. They own about 10 million acres of land. Now, operational holdings are about 10.5 lakh. These million farmers have to come to the purchase centers. 40 million tons is to be sold in a period of 4 to 6 weeks. Intermediation is a service which is kind of accepted norm in all sectors. Why is it objected in agriculture marketing? I don't understand.
Because if you go to village, they are like your bank. They give you finance when you need to crop on your land.
There are about 40,000 intermediary licensed. It's not that they are not licensed. They are licensed by the State Agriculture Marketing Board. And these 40,000 provide services to about 1 million farmers who bring their produce to the purchase centers. Tomorrow, if you want, you have in USA, in Canada, if you've traveled, you must have seen, they have farm service centers. These farm service centers provide services to the farmers. These intermediaries then will set up the farm service firms and they will then become a legal entity. Today they are working as a private trader. They will take commissions from government. They all pay a commission. So whosoever is the commission is on the purchaser. The purchaser has to pay. So in this case, because government is objecting, government is a big buyer of wheat and rice. So they have to pay commission, so they object to it. Everybody is at par in terms of law. So that things are very clear.
So can you share one significant mistake or wrong decision in your career? Something you did or call you made that you wish or could do over. It takes boldness to acknowledge your failure. What was the incident and how did owing the failure shape you as a mentor and leader afterwards?
It was my mistake to come back to the government after 2016. I was recalled to the government. I was offered the Chief Secretary's position. I applied for a non-cadre position of Chief Principal Secretary. They knew jolly well if I come back to the government, I would be stickler to rules. I will not allow anything to go beyond the framework of law. The appointment was challenged by a lawyer. I decided not to defend the challenge. I only wrote one-line letter to government. It's your order to appoint me as Chief Principal Secretary. Your orders have been challenged. If you can defend, please defend it. If you can't defend it, I am out of it. So I had submitted my resignation. They took 4.5 years to decide appeal of the government. This demoralizes the civil servant. If you want me to work, I'll work. I'll work sincerely, honestly. But if you don't want me to work, why should there be a challenge? So I was demotivated. So I personally feel, in retrospect, I feel this was a wrong decision.
So imagine you have 60 seconds with the Prime Minister to pitch a radical governance reform. What would you say, whether it's a one-stop solution for corruption or a dramatic education overhaul? Sum up your most educated idea to transform governance in a short elevator pitch style dear.
One line reply would be end the spoil system, promote meritocracy. The spoil system in our country is getting more deeper and deeper. This is not going to take us too far. This spoil system of getting people who does not have merit and then giving them jobs in the government is not only demotivates the well-meaning people, the meritorious people, but also it affects the quality of governance. You see, the major issue today is not resources. Major issue is not the human resource. Major issue is not the financial resources. Major issue is not the infrastructure. Major issue is the governance. If we improve the quality of governance in our country, we can achieve much faster results, much quicker results than what we see these days. We need to have meritorious people in all deserving positions. You can't have spoil system going beyond a point. You need to see only merit. Merit prefers a job demands. The merit demanded by a job should be considered, not color, complexion, caste, or creed of any person. I would say end spoil system and promote meritocracy.
So you have used the word merit many times in the conversation when you suggest anything to the Prime Minister. So what's your take on reservation?
Reservation reasons were not unjustified. People have seen historical subjugation and they needed help, they needed some protection, they needed some social contracts. The reservation was started. But unfortunately, there has to be now rethinking about it. The last 75 years, many people have taken advantage and they are taking recurring advantage of it. So this recurring advantage has to be somehow rationalized. The poorest of the poor are not getting the benefit. The poorest of the poor are still suffering. The people who were earlier well off are still well off, have got better off. There's still further stratification even in reserve categories. So we need to carry out a quick assessment. The poorest of the poor must get the benefit, who have crossed the limit, who are very well off. So I think those people need to make way for others who deserve the benefit. Even the benefit of reservation needs to be properly targeted now. It should go to the targeted people so that we have more homogeneous, more economically leveled society.
So if you could start a movement today with no fear of the consequences, what big cause would your campaign be? Would it be a crusade for climate-resistant agriculture, a war against bureaucratic red tape, a revolution in primary education, or something else entirely? I'm asking you to dare to dream. Which neglected cause would you throw your weight behind with all your passion and why?
If given the choice to me, I will only focus on improving the quality of governance. Governance by definition has to be good. So my first choice would be to improve the quality of governance and set right the rules and regulations, improve the quality of civil servants, improve prevalence of merit, improve the system of appointments, system of rewards and punishments in the government. So quality has to improve. That's the first target. Now coming back to Punjab, where my heart and soul lies. Now if one target which has to be taken and one threat which is coming, if there is one thing which we need to do and we do it on the campaign basis, I have to move out or you have to move out or the society at large has to move out, it is save water. We must save Punjab's water. One, the availability of river water, the surface water is going down. The other thing is the groundwater. The groundwater is depleting very fast. See, for every natural recharge, Punjab uses over 175% of its natural recharge. The international thumb rule is that we should use about 75% of natural recharge, as against the international standards and international norms of 85% of natural recharge, which should be used. We are using 172, 175%. Now, this is very, very damaging. Third is, water governance is not effective. The water use efficiency in agriculture is about 40%. Last summer, I was in US, in California. I had a lot of discussions on the water with Fresno universities, and their water use efficiency is 70 plus. And if one campaign which needs to build up, the water governance should be improved, water should be conserved, water use efficiency should be improved. Save water, save Punjab.
So in 2020-21, India saw a massive farmer protest, especially in Punjab, over new forms law. It was one of the most intensive public policy debate in recent memory. As someone who understands both the urgent need for agriculture reforms and the farmers' fear, where do you stand on that controversy? What do you think went wrong in the communication or policy design? And how would you rebuild trust with farming community to make necessary reforms possible?
Laws were very well drafted. There was nothing wrong in the laws. The meaning and essence of laws was not communicated as effectively as it should have been. Pre-enactment, there were no consultations with the stakeholders. As big a stakeholder as Punjab was not consulted. Post-enactment also, there was a chance before the longish dharnas and longish agitation was built up. There was a chance in November 2019, even solutions could have emerged even by setting up a committee. Government of India took rigid positions, did not post-enactment also, did not invite the farmers, the stakeholders took a rigid position, and government also took a rigid stand. This kind of position caused the stalemate and ultimately withdrawal. MSP assurance was not as effectively communicated as it should have been. There is already an assurance in the National Food Safety Law. There were assurance already available. Those could have been communicated. New laws were only brought in as a standalone laws without affecting the existing laws and regulations. Kind of misgivings, misunderstandings increased. Farmers are willing to change. It is just that they need to be heard. Every 2 months, I hold a meeting with them. We have a heart-to-heart discussion. They raise their issues. I explain the position of the government. And they also jolly well know that they will have a chance to say their things next 2 months again. So, somebody has to listen to them. This closing the doors for discussions, listening to them. Policies are made in the silos or policies are made in the exclusive drawing room. That doesn't work when it comes to rural development, when it comes to dealing with rural households, particularly the farming communities, particularly the agriculturists.
So the bureaucracy sometimes faces political or even moral dilemmas behind closed doors, like being pressurized to do something improper or to ignore wrongdoing. Do you ever have to refuse an order or fight against interference from a powerful quarters that put you in a tough spot? Describe an incident if possible. How does a leader decides when to dig in and say no despite the risk?
From the position of a State Excise Commissioner, I was transferred as the Chief Administrator of State Urban Development Authority. Urban development is a new subject. I had not worked in that area earlier. So one day, Housing and Urban Development Minister, he calls me, he says, come over a cup of tea or coffee at my residence. So I went to the minister's residence. So he took me to his drawing room. We were having a cup of coffee. He said something which I have never heard earlier. He said, you are also a Hindu, I am also a Hindu. Why don't you let me make some money? I was very, very furious and I told him, sir, you said it, never ever repeat it to me. I will not make money. I will not let you make money. Now I'll be more rigid about it. Be careful in your orders. If you pass any wrong orders, I'm going to challenge it. Even if I have to go to the court, I will challenge it. He probably made a complaint to the Chief Minister. 3 weeks later of this incident, I was transferred from the position of Chief Administrator. I was brought to the Chief Minister's office and I first became the Special Principal Secretary to the Chief Minister on 1st December 2003. 19th December 2003, I was upgraded as Principal Secretary to the Chief Minister. So he had these grievances against him. I resisted corruption.
So you have worked in areas that rarely make headlines, from cooperative to water sanitation to rural infrastructure. Which under the radar sector do you believe has enormous impact on India's future but is overlooked by the public and media? Shed some light on why this sector is a hidden giant and share one initiative in that space you are proud of, which deserves more attention than it got.
Nothing in the civil service is more important or less important. It's a task which a civil servant is assigned, and civil servants must try to execute the task to the best of his ability, honestly. Technical education was very, very sensitive for Punjab because not all districts had adequate access to technical education and technician education. And also cooperatives were not as effectively governed and managed as they should have been. Technical education did not have a statutory technical education board. People were going through the industrial training in ITIs. They were going through the diploma programs through polytechnics, but they were not given their diploma certificates or course certificates of the ITIs for years together. There was no statutory agency looking after that. We first enacted the Punjab State Board of Technical Education and Industrial Training Act in 92. That was which revolutionized the sector. There was a statutory limit. If I pass the degree on, let's say, 31st March, must get my diploma in next 4 weeks. First 3 months, I cleared a backlog of 10,000 diploma and course certificates for ITI graduates and polytechnic graduates. Too many things were happening which cannot be said to be transparent, which cannot be appreciated in the normal course of governance, which were happening, which I stopped and enacted a law, created a separate board of technical education and industrial training. This board, created in 1992, it does not take a penny from the government. It is autonomous board. Degrees and diplomas are awarded well in time. Degrees and diploma exams are conducted well in time, and the quality of education has improved. We set up the first Punjab Technical University. The first draft of Punjab Technical University, Kapurthala, was drafted by us. Over 700 technical education institutions and colleges have been established. The first private engineering college was set up in Fatehgarh Sahib by the SGPC, and I had hard time convincing Chief Minister Byan Singh in 92, why should SGPC be allowed to set up an engineering colleges? I requested the Chief Minister that if SGPC intend to spend, what is wrong in that? He saw logic into it, and that time he approved the first private engineering colleges. Like that, assignment in the cooperative sector. Not much is known about the cooperatives. It is one department which offers you variety of jobs. You want to professionalize in marketing, you can get into cooperatives. You want to professionalize in banking, you can get into cooperatives. If you want to professionalize in processing, you can get into cooperatives. If you want to produce agrochemicals, you want to get it into cooperative. We introduced core banking solutions. Operations were very, very rudimentary and they were not really expanding. So we introduced computerization in the cooperative banks, right from the primary agriculture service societies, the district cooperative banks and the state cooperative banks, all were computerized with the core banking solutions. Cooperative laws were not even taught in our training programs. I wrote to the Chief Secretary, and later, at least in the state training, the cooperative laws became a module. Cooperative capitalism, cooperative federalism are basic concepts which one must understand and learn these days, particularly facing the challenges of globalization.
So you began your career at a grassroots as SDM, and decade later, you were shaping state policy at the highest level. What's a behind the scene insight or story from those early days on the ground that you wish every policymaker knew? How did selling village level challenges firsthand shape the way you design policy later?
When I was posted in Talwandi Sabo, I didn't even know the local language. So I was a bit initially uncomfortable. This was a small place, small subdivision, small taluka. We're about 90 villages. I used to roam around. I learnt my driving there. I used to drive my own jeep, go around the villages, meet the sarpanches, meet everybody. The problems which we are seeing today, whether it was agriculture distress, the farming distress, the debt stress of farmers, drug manifestation, the stagnation in agriculture, the declining productivity, the declining water table, non-availability of canal water or surface water, we used to only see as immediate problems to be tackled. Say that canal water is not coming, so I'll go and check and see that flows and reaches the tail end villages. The produce is gone bad, so we will get the assessment done and distribute the relief and crop compensations. Somebody will come and say that I need seed subsidy. I will try and find the way, how do we get subsidy? But today I realize the problem existed. These were the bigger, larger problems of the state. I used to go around the Taksiri Damdama Sahib. It has a boundary wall, about 40 odd acres land, boundary wall. And the youngsters covering their head and mouth sit around this wall, take some tablets, eat some langar in the Gurdwara Sahib. I didn't realize that time that this is the drugs, cheaper drugs. Later when I came to CM office and when these drugs became a big major issues, when the agriculture stagnation, agriculture marketing issues seen as a bigger problem, these problems has started growing maybe 30 years, 40 years earlier. And the state policies did not respond as effectively as they should have. Had we responded earlier, probably the result would have been better. The problems would not have grown to the levels they have grown now.
So tell us about a time when you were in field and witnessed something that changed your perspective. Perhaps you visited a remote village to check on a project implementation without the usual fanfare. What did that teach you about the gap between the policy on paper and reality on ground? Share an incidence of the behind-the-scene challenge in getting a scheme to actual work, which most people wouldn't be aware of.
Talwandi Sabo subdivision, there is a place called Mysar Khana. This is a place dominated by a Hindu temple. On the 6th Navratra, there is Mata Ka Mela is organized, and the subdivisional officer or the SDM is the Mela officer. And for the first time, the October 85 Navratras, when I was asked to organize the Mela, so I visited the temple, the villages around the temple, and I met the sarpanches and try and see what best we can do. Where do we stay? How many people are coming? What kind of arrangements for food, shelter have to be made? So I found the school was not in a good position. There was a big school in the village. Panchayat had good land. There were a lot of revenues were coming, and they had good funds. So I asked the Sarpanch, I said, why don't we upgrade the school and why don't we build more rooms and quality rooms, middle school to high school in those days, and get more rooms built, a lab, library should be constructed. I never expected that kind of a reply in a state like Punjab. The Sarpanch said that, no, let's not improve the school. If all the poor people will get educated, who will work for us? That kind of a mindset really shocked me. That kind of a human psychology really upset me. That the poor ladies must work in their farms, poor ladies must work in their homes, poor kids must work on the farm, even if they are child labor. I saw to it that the school is upgraded. I saw to it the more rooms are built. So Sarpanch did not cooperate, but I could manage the funds from other sources. We did build more rooms. We did use other funding channels and other programs of schemes, state government and government of India. But this kind of a mindset was really, really hurting. Southwestern Punjab is not very socially not as advanced as places like Amritsar district, Jalandhar. That was the first real life experience which really hurt me very badly.
So in your extensive career, who are some unsung heroes you encountered, whether they are colleagues, field officers or citizens, who quietly made a big difference, maybe in diligent village officers who implemented reforms against all odds, or mentor who guided you at early stages? Take a moment to spotlight someone who isn't famous, but those behind the scene contribution inspired you and should inspire us.
Two names I will take. One from Punjab, one from outside Punjab. One person I met in 87 in Amritsar, Mr. K.K. Sharma. He was the assistant registrar in cooperative societies. Good person. He knew the cooperatives very well. He understood the law. He was very pro-cooperatives, very development oriented because of the terrorism, violence. He will not go to the field. So I used to call him to my office of additional collector Amritsar when I was posted in February 87 in Amritsar. I used to take a lot of guidance from him, a lot of inputs from him, what's happening in the rural cooperatives, what's happening in the rural house. I used to take him in my bulletproof car, which we had in those days. He would then do very good work in the cooperatives in the rural areas. Later, when I became the registrar of cooperative societies, he was then the joint registrar. And this gentleman had set up Citizen Urban Cooperative Bank Jalandhar. And the bank is still functional. Turnover has gone up to 1500 CR. It has branches all over the state. It employs about 10,000 people. He was committed. He was honest. He was true to his soul. He always worked to find solutions for the poor. Second thing is, when I was shunted out in 1992 to Government of India, in the Ministry of HRD, Mr. Abhimanyu Singh, an IAS officer of Rajasthan Cadre 1974 batch, he was my joint secretary in charge. We were looking after the Elementary Education Bureau in the Ministry of HRD, and for the first time making the right to education a statutory right. We drafted the first right to education bill. We used to sit overnight and we did 27 drafts of the bill. The final draft emerged in 2005 when the right to education bill was passed. A very useful time I had in the Ministry of HRD with Abhimanyu Singh, a perfectionist, a very good for his subordinate, a good mentor, very intellectually, financially, very honest, very simple, decent person. And he was the one responsible for getting me posted to the UNDP to carry out the remaining task of Right to Education Act.
So you have often worked quietly in the background, letting minister take the credit publicly while you solve problems away from camera. Do you prefer being the unsung strategist rather than the face of the program? Why? Shares how it feels to pour your heart into a project knowing that if it succeeds, the accolades go to someone else, or if it fails, the blame might fall on you. What motivates you to keep driving change without seeking praises?
I have always been a self-motivated person. I always believed that civil servant is neutral, should remain neutral, and should remain faceless. We are not the policymaker. We are the implementers. At senior level, we try and draft and prepare policies and assist the government in kind of working out various policies and programs. Neutrality and facelessness, I never compromise, and I try to remain that. When I was in the Chief Minister's office, the efficiency of Chief Minister's office went up tremendously. In the first month of my posting, we cleared about 2,000 files, and never ever a file remained pending beyond 5 working days. And it was always checked, monitors on day-to-day basis, the movement of the files, the decisions taken by the Chief Minister. That kind of a discipline we maintain, administrative discipline, financial discipline we maintain. In the second term, when some people called me de facto Chief Minister, this is not a correct thing. No Chief Minister would like to give his powers to his staff officers. Who is educated, probably the only Chief Minister who dictates his own letters. Some people thought that I'll be a bottleneck. So I was only stickler of rules, stickler of systems. Mind you, I have never exceeded even a step beyond what a civil servant should be doing. He has been in political life or public life for over 5 decades now. His lifestyles were known, his working styles were known, his knowledge base was known, his concern for Punjab was known. How can you say that any bureaucrat, much less the chief staff officer, takes decision on his behalf? He will only get into the policy level, major decision level, national security concerns. He will only get into the major financial resources issues of the state, major issue of employment, youth employment. He was more concerned about the drug economy, which was bugging the state. So he will deal with the major issues. He was concerned about the corruption also. The mass politics has gone to the level where they want the Chief Minister to do a Patwari's transfer or a transfer of a constable. So that was what he was not doing it. Transferring a Patwari, transferring a station house officer, a constable or a DYSP is not governance. The political mass involvement was not as serious as it should have been. And that brings down the quality of governance also. So I don't think at any point of time when I was in Chief Minister's office for 9 years or with Captain Amarinder Singh, neither the Chief Minister nor any officer in the Chief Minister's office interfered in the working of the minister. We resisted. Ministers must do their job. Chief Minister's office was always available to assist.
So one of the biggest challenges in governance is the yawning gap between policy design and execution. Have you experienced a case where a policy you create didn't deliver results on the ground as expected? What went wrong, and what does that teach us about the deep systematic obstacles, be it local capacity, bureaucracy, or politics? What reforms must overcome?
All good policies fail at implementation level. The test of any policy or program is at implementation only, that too at the street level bureaucracy. If a street level bureaucracy understands a program or a policy, the program only succeeds. If they do not understand, programs invariably fail. We do not build the capacity, we do not guide and facilitate that level of implementational bureaucracy. In this regard, 2 programs. One was the employment generation program called Ghar Ghar Rozgar. The other program was Lal Lakir Mission. Ghar Ghar Rozgar was basically, what Punjab needs is for the youngsters. They are inadequately educated, but not as good for jobs which are being created in the labor market these days. To be gainfully employed, we need to create jobs in the neighborhood. So he has enough food at home. So if he has enough spending money, and we thought, okay, we'll find the jobs in the neighborhood. We did work out a program called Ghar Ghar Rozgar and Karobar. We should locate these jobs and try and see the local youth from the villages are identified. And through the district employment bureaus, those jobs are identified and those youths were enrolled and they were facilitated to get jobs wherever possible. Matching the qualification, enrolling in the youth. This was the job given to the district employment bureaus which were set up in all 22 districts. Political class of the state wanted the jobs to be given only government jobs. But there are hardly any government jobs available. Where were the jobs? Where are the government jobs? We are top-heavy government. And the political mass did not support this program, Ghar Ghar Rozgar and Karobar, which is the failing of which I feel is a denial of a right, a denial of a good living to the youth of Punjab. I still feel we must create a neighborhood employment program. They must be employed gainfully in the neighborhood. They come in the morning, they go back and they live with their families. Otherwise, what will happen? Where will they live? This is a program which failed. Second program was called Recognition of Ownership Rights of Rural Households. We created a legislation which was notified in April 2020. So we said, okay, don't question the rights. Just recognize the right. Whosoever is sitting, occupying the property, we recognize the right, declare him as the permanent owner and give him a registered document, which in the normal language, you and me call it a registry of house. Right now, all the residential properties of the rural areas, mind you, the houses, the number of houses is 40 lakhs. 40 lakh residential properties of rural areas are traded on the strength of a power of attorney. Whatever is happening behind the curtain or happening in a non-transparent way. People are very much into it. People want it. There is an enabling law available in the state of Punjab, but that needs to be picked up. I regret that this law is not being implemented as effectively, as conscientiously as it should be.
So describe a moment in your career when you felt completely discouraged or burnt out. Maybe a reform was blocked or a crisis felt overwhelming. What was the lowest point for you and how did you pull yourself out of it? Leaders often face dark times. Hearing how you persevered would be incredibly insightful for others facing their own challenges.
The lowest point, the most discouraging, most disappointing point was the order of 18 January 2018 of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, the single judge order, setting aside my appointment as Chief Principal Secretary as unconstitutional. Not that if it was set aside or it was withdrawn by the government, I had no regrets. The judicial order was flawed because he said it unconstitutional, whereas it was fully constitutional. This gap is something which hurt me, that when the highest law of the land could not read the message. This is something which made me very, very disappointed, and this was the lowest point. I did carry on. I did spend 4.5 years in the government because the Chief Minister persuaded me to continue. Chief Minister did defend me. He did support me, express his anguish with his people. I became more reserved. I became more reluctant worker, which I am not otherwise. When people want to object to everything you want to do, and people do not wish to be governed by the evidence, you feel discouraged. So I was demotivated and discouraged. We were not performing. It was not a full performance. We could have done much better. The working environment was not vitiated with this kind of a court orders or this kind of a manipulation of orders.
So Punjab, like much of India, has faced interrelated issues like distress, drug issues, unemployment. So as a policy maker, how did you cope with the emotional weight on working on problems that doesn't have quick solutions? For instance, dealing with farmer suicides or youth falling prey of drugs can be heartbreaking. How do you maintain hope and focus when the challenges are so massive and deeply personal for the community?
Punjab is facing not only one, but there are many emotive issues. Drug abuse is one, financial distress of farmers, suicides is another. More importantly, the law and order disturbances with select killing of some community leaders, that's another worry. We have a demographic advantage. We have an advantage of very resilient and very hardworking farming communities. We have very, very progressive urban centers and urban populations. Most of the dynamic investors and promoters are Punjabis. But unfortunately, our governments have not taken advantage of that. It's not automatic. The policies need to mobilize this dynamism into action. Every new industrial policy changes the previous policy. So the industrial entrepreneurs or industrial establishment which come up on the previous policies face the music. The previous government or the outgoing government gave them some incentives. The basis of those promises or incentives, they made some investments, and the new government comes and withdraws or alters the incentives, and they are completely in dark what to do. This instability in policy is what is causing a lot of issues in Punjab. We reached a stage in Punjab where we need to articulate a policy, articulate the policies in black and white, articulate this policy or write this policy or prepare this policy in consultation and with full participation of stakeholders. And these policies should not be negotiable when the government changes. Political government is voted out not because the policies are bad. And the most policies fail because implementation gets bad. So the new governments have to focus on the implementation, on delivery of services, on implementation of policies and programs, not really change in policies. This kind of a policy gap or policy shift or instability in policy creates the trust deficit. People from Punjab are moving out. Punjabi farmers are buying land in Chhattisgarh. Why Punjabi farmers are buying land in other states? Just because they do not trust. The changes are too frequent. So if well-articulated policies, written policies, consistent policies are followed to the common understanding of the people with participatory mechanism of making the policies or even changing the policy. Democratically elected governments are not necessarily participatory governments. People look for governments for work.
So, how do you think the challenges faced by young IAS officers or policy leaders today compare to those in your time? From rapid technology changes to heightened public scrutiny via social media, what new pressure do today's change makers need to be ready for? And controversially, are there old challenges that unfortunately remain the same? Share your advice on what different dragons this generation will have to slay.
The next generation is definitely more educated, more qualified, they're more tech savvy. But that doesn't mean the systems are bad or systems are useless to them. That system is not a bottleneck. System is actually a protection of sincere, honest hard work. If anything protects you or anything has protected me, is the system. Because I try to work with the system and through the system. Knowing data science, knowing technology, innovate with the help of technology doesn't mean the technology is totally anti or totally against the system which has grown over the years. How do we avail the benefit of technology, data science, working with and through the systems? The systems need to be updated to suit the technology. Technology has to be customized, forcing for systemic reforms, and this challenge can be met. It can be achieved. We must try and remain with the framework of system. Systemic reforms focused on technology, use of technology, infusion of technology, use of evidence, use of data needs to be pursued more rigorously.
So, what is your message to young IAS officers or public servants who have just started out? How can they retain their idealism and drive for change when faced with the reality of red tape, frequent transfer, or political pressure? Perhaps share one principle or habit that helped you remain an agent of positive change throughout your career.
Punjab is the only state where again in 2021 we enacted the anti-red tape law, which basically means that compliance of burden has to be reduced, and if you cannot do it, you must say that you cannot do it. You are not allowed to sit on it. Coming to the young civil servants, they must remain true to themselves while taking a decision. Is it truthful? Is it really doable? Is it really within the framework of law? Or I'm trying to oblige somebody? Even if you have to oblige somebody, you may do so. You must see that laws and maintain the rules and regulations are followed. The previous chief minister in year 2015 called me once, and his grievances were that most media persons and most Congress leaders meet you too often. So I said, sir, how do I stop that? It's a public office, it's a government office. How do I stop it? I can't say no. I do not give anything which is classified to the media. If something is in public domain of my departments, then anybody can take it. They have a confidence in me to the extent that here is a person who can guide them what is right, what is wrong. If I don't know, I do admit that I don't know this. As a civil servant, whatever I can do, I have to do it for everybody. I said, if anything is doable, it will be doable for everybody. And second, for them, after doing your people, I can do it for them also, because it's your policy and program. How do I distinguish? Party which has come to the power has a first right on governance. After their constituents are done, for the other constituencies also the same thing can be done with following the same rules and same policies. So we can't discriminate beyond the law.
So many young change makers, be they social entrepreneurs or activists, often see government as an obstacle. Based on your experience, how should they engage with the system to achieve their goals? What advice do you have for someone trying to bring change from the outside in how to work with the government institution, influence policy, or navigate the bureaucracy effectively without losing momentum?
Government cannot become a bottleneck. Government has to be a facilitator. Government has to be a problem-solving apparatus. The problem comes when people try to get the benefit of government beyond the established laws. It could be because of ignorance of laws, two, because of any ulterior motives. Most people criticizing or condemning the government, or for that matter any bureaucrat or any minister, just because they do not or they have not been knowing the law. One media person gave a headline on the front page that the registrar makes the law but does not follow the law for himself. So I called him to my office. I said, you made a headline, but you are totally ignorant of law. The instructions you are referring are instructions for bearers and employees of the cooperatives. I am not an employee of cooperatives. I am a civil servant of All India Service. The permissions I needed, the cadre clearances I needed to travel abroad are under the All India Service rules. Here is the permission of Chief Minister, here is a cadre clearance from the Government of India, here is what I have followed. Even if a reporter, a senior reporter in a national daily was not aware of the rules of business, This is ignorance, which is widely pervasive. It's just because too many instructions too often, not many instructions are codified, the codified instruction manuals are not easily available, or we also do not disseminate or put them in public domain. After Right to Information Act, many things have changed. More information has come in public domain. Government becomes a bottleneck because of either lack of information. We need to disseminate correct information. We need to put the policies, programs, actions, regulations, regulatory frameworks in black and white and put it in public domain. The gap in understanding of the people who are affected, or the common man, and the people who are in government should reduce. The knowledge base has to become common. Then probably these issues will not appear.
So you have long worked at the intersection of economic development and environmental sustainability. For further leaders who will have to make tough choices, what guidance can you offer on balancing growth with ecological responsibility? How can they avoid false choices and pursue strategies that were both economically and environmentally sound for long term?
They must understand what sustainability means at all. We keep talking about environmental sustainability, we keep talking about governance. Not everything is codified. There is always a technical code, there is a financial code for everything you do in government. There are financial regulations, there are technical regulations, but sustainability regulations are not there. There has to be a common understanding of sustainability and ecological sustainability. So to me, sustainability means that you need to produce more with less resource consumption. The resources belong to all generations to come. I must use the resources as optimally as possible, saving resources for next generation. Resources are being used inoptimally, in a frugal manner, in a non-prudent way. As a result, the rights of next generation are being compromised. You must increase the water use efficiency, increase the fertilizer use efficiency. So you need to input efficiencies have to increase, production efficiencies have to go, machine efficiencies have to increase. Why do we talk of zero liquid discharge these days? Why should we use the technology which produces so much of liquid waste? So these emerging issues need to be properly codified, identified, codified, and solutions must be available within the system, within the policy framework. It's happening very fast, but not as fast as we need to say, because technology grows and it changes very fast. Our bureaucracy at the street level, at the lowest level, is neither guided nor facilitated. Their capacity is not upgraded. What will happen to that village level functionary who will implement that policy or program in the village, in the block, in the tehsil, in the district? So we need to take care of their concerns, address those concerns to achieve good governance and better sustainability.
So your career shows a pattern of continuous learning, from earning advanced degree to embracing new roles in policy and global networks. What advice would you give about staying adaptable and updating one's skills in rapidly changing world? How can leaders remain humble and curious, and why is that important for solving new generation problems like AI in governance nowadays that doesn't exist when you started your life?
Learning has no limits. Learning has no barriers. Change is constant. Change is happening. Change will keep on happening. It will happen very fast. When we joined the service, we were just starting with computers. I remember having opened the computer boxes in the excise and taxation department. Today, you don't need to open a computer. Mobile handset you are carrying, that you can use the chat GPT and you can use the artificial intelligence to get to know everything and anything. They are instruments to achieve better. They are not the brain. The emergence of these tools is also a challenge. Today, as an administrator, get away with anything and everything. The people who are affected also have access to these tools and these instruments, and they can check very well what's happening, what's wrong, what's right. Other day, I was attending a training program of young IAS officers and young civil servants. And whatever I was stating in my presentation, in written presentation, they must have been verified. It makes our life easy, and it's also challenging. Young generation need to change and learn continuously. Things are changing fast. If you don't keep yourself updated with those changes, you will probably be left behind. Power and authority do not come with any office these days. The old MyBab system is over now. Power and authority comes if people find value in you. People find some usefulness in you. If you have value, you have vision, and you can execute your vision with emerging technologies, with emerging data sciences, probably you will be successful. So you have to keep updated yourself, Otherwise, you'll be left behind in your careers.
So you have written that ethics in governance is the fountainhead of sustainable progress. For young leaders looking to make an impact, how important is it to have a strong ethical foundation? What practical advice would you give them to uphold integrity and transparency in their work, especially when they face pressure to cut corners?
Ethics in bureaucracy, ethics in governance is something very dear to my heart. Unethical working cannot take you any forward. Whether in your personal life, whether in your social life, whether in your life in government, life in public life, you need to maintain the highest possible standard of ethics. The civil servant can't do better than the government, but civil servant must follow what it can follow, bound by those policies and program. But no policy and program will in black and white say that I am not supposed to be following the transparency. These are things very personal to you. For any bureaucrat, if you make up your mind and keep these foundational things very dear to your heart, success will come. It may be slow, it may be delayed, it may be manipulated by some people. It happens. There are always professional jealousies, there are always professional bottlenecks, systemic bottlenecks. The basics will remain, the truth will remain truth. Pursuing truth against the tide is something which becomes very challenging. Let's try and see that ethics are never compromised. Whatever is right should remain right, whatever is wrong should at least be stated to be wrong. If somebody wants to do it, let him do it. If somebody still wants to do it, I am nobody to kind of encroach upon anybody else's life. Your business in the government is guided by a framework of rules and regulations. Ethics are universal, they have to be followed universal, and that's why they remain the fountainhead of governance.
So as an amazing mentor to many, what is the one piece of guidance you find yourself giving over and over again? Is there a mantra or rule or thumb about leadership and life that you impact to all your mentees, something you hope they carry with them throughout their journey?
Believe in truth, believe in honesty. Future will be yours. I have overcome all bottlenecks, all the challenges I have faced, remaining truthful to myself, remaining truthful to the governments. The choice is not to violate the democratic norms. The choice is to become more democratic, more participatory, more people-oriented, more citizen-centric. Choice for a bureaucrat is not to follow the path which is not truthful, not honest, which is not transparent. Follow within the framework of law. Laws and steel framework will never tell you to be dishonest. 2007, when the government changed and I was out of the Chief Minister's office, a new Chief Minister asked for scrutiny of all files we had cleared. And after going through over 20,000 files, he once called me and told me, "Kaka ji, file to bahut achhi likhte ho." Nobody does corruption in files. All the unethical things, all the dishonest things, whosoever does it outside the files, does it outside the government, does it outside the government offices. A bureaucrat, when he occupies a public office, he must be truthful to himself to see that whatever he does is truthfully right, is ethically right. Whatever is happening outside the office in the streets, I'm not responsible and I should not be aware. If it comes to my notice, due action should be taken and will be taken. Young bureaucrats should be true to themselves, if not to anybody else.
So finally, my last question, if you could speak directly to the young generation of global leaders, the students, the young professionals, the aspiring change makers listening to this series, what would be your parting advice? What core belief or encouragement would you want to leave them with to truly make them believe in future and carry forward the torch of positive change?
I'm not a preacher, a follower, a learner. I do the work myself. If you are hands-on, then others also tend to believe and then you come to know the truth. So I would expect the young generation, the future leaders to be hands-on. Times have gone when sitting in the forts and the killas and the air-conditioned office, you could govern. You have to be hands-on. First understand what are the problems on the ground. Various stakeholders need to be taken along for consultation, for participation. The issues that may come up at every stage need to be foreseen, identified, and tackled in advance. Implementation cannot be commanded. Implementation need to be guided and facilitated. And you can guide and facilitate by creating capacity, creating awareness among the lowest rung of bureaucracy. Most of the general people are affected at the street level or the middle level or low level of the bureaucracy. They need to be also taken along. That is what helps to improve your performance. That is what helps to improve your achievements. That's what will improve your careers. These nuances of policy making, program implementation, policy implementation need to be understood by the civil servants and then results will be much better. The governance quality will be much better.
Thank you, Shri Suresh Kumar, for sharing your journey and individual insight with us. Today's discussion ranged from the gritty truth of governance to daring ideas for change. Your experience reminds us that leadership is as much about courage and conviction as it is about compassion and curiosity. As we conclude, we are left inspired by your unwavering commitment to public service and your hope for the next generation. On behalf of our audience and Believe in Future series, I extend our heartfelt gratitude for your candid stories and mentorship. Your journey proves that with ethical leadership and a belief in the future, even the toughest challenges can be met and overcome. Thank you for encouraging us to dream big, work hard, and always serve with integrity. Until next time, this is Gaurav Garg signing off. Stay inspired and keep believing in the better future. Thank you very much.